to start with actually Loudoun County, Virginia. I have a lot of friends that live in Loudoun County. Things have been hot in Loudoun County. You had a school board taken over by the Wokists. They've been doing a lot of really bad stuff to the kids there, and the parents are standing up. And the one that I got this week is one of the most inspiring ones I've ever seen. If you want to see people understand what's actually going on in America, you got to listen to people who've come from real tyranny, who've come from communism, who've come from socialism, who've come from fascism. That's what happened this week in Loudoun County. Producer G, can you roll the tape for me, please?
I've been very alarmed about what's going on in our school. You are now training our children to be social justice warriors and to loathe our country and our history. Growing up in Maoist China, all this seemed very familiar. The communist regime used the same critical theory to divide people. The only difference is they use class instead of race. During the Cultural Revolution, I witnessed students and teachers turn against each other. We changed school names to be politically correct. We were taught to denounce our heritage. The Red Guards destroy anything that is not communist, old statues, books, and anything else. We are also encouraged to report on each other, just like the Student Equity Ambassador Program and the bias reporting system. This is indeed the American version of the Chinese Cultural Revolution. The critical race theory has its roots in cultural Marxism. It should have no place in our schools.
Man, you should listen to that. Look for it. Listen to it over and over. That's a woman who lived what we're experiencing right now. She lived it in Mao's China. She lived the Cultural Revolution. She watched students denouncing teachers, teachers against students. She watched people going against their friends, children going against their parents. And she said it straight up. This is critical race theory, is just critical theory, which comes straight out of Marxism. She lived this. She knows what's going on in America, and you need to be aware of this too. This critical race theory, CRT, I wouldn't call it CRT anymore. I don't call it critical race theory. This is just straight up state-sponsored racism. This is Marxism, right? This is really, really bad stuff, and we have to pay attention. And it's important that we listen to people like this woman. She came from Mao's China. See, in Mao's China, they had something called the Cultural Revolution. And I would argue that is the straightest parallel to what's going on in the United States right now. It's bar none. It is what's happening here. It is a cultural revolution. She said they denounced their own history, right? Anything that had to do with their history, they wiped out and replaced with communism. Today, anything that has to do with our own history, they're denouncing and they're erasing and they're replacing with wokeism. They're destroying statues. They're denouncing our history. They're rewriting our history books. This is the American Cultural Revolution. This is state-sponsored racism. And I want you to understand why they had to go to racism instead of classism. See, critical theory that came out of Marxism normally was about classism. So you would turn the lower classes against the upper classes, right? You'd make the proletariat, as they called it, hate the bourgeoisie. And they had to change it in the United States. And the reason they had to change it is here, classes are pretty mobile. Like if you grow up poor, you can become middle class. You can become wealthy. And by the way, when you do, you'll be accepted in all those classes. You know, we tell stories all the time about people who are so incredible because they grew up dirt poor, right? And they lifted themselves up by their bootstraps, something we're not supposed to say anymore. And ultimately they became wealthy. They lived the American dream. They achieved great success. And we accept that and we celebrate it still, thank God, in the United States. So you can't really drive classes against each other because people want to become the classes, the economic classes that they can rise up through in the United States. So they had to find another way, and that is to turn us against each other in every other possible way. That's what critical race theory is about. That's what critical gender theory, all these critical theories they create, they say theory as if it's some kind of scientific thing. It's not science. It's designed to make you hate me and me hate you and us hate them and them hate us, because that's how you destroy a society. And the only way that you can rebuild a society in the Marxist model is you have to destroy it first. Now, I'm not making any of this stuff up. These are the tenets of Marxism. I'm here live in Philadelphia at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. When you hear the phrase lives, fortunes, and sacred honor, These are the folks we should think of, those who anonymously gave their lives. Well, today you have a chance to volunteer. You need to volunteer for conventionofstates.com, the movement that's going to save the country. These folks are willing to step up and give everything. We need you to give just a little bit. Go to conventionofstates.com and volunteer today.